Are conservative who want books banned against free speech? The logic behind parents participating in managing school curriculum explained. Recently, a colleague of mine has been telling me that conservatives are hypocrites because on the one hand, they support free speech and smaller government. But on the other hand, they are busy banning books, which is not only a limitation of free speech, but suggests a desire for government intervention into personal matters. Banning books seems to be a big topic among some publications. I did a Google search on conservatives banning books and got back these results. 1. U.S. conservatives linked to rich donors' wage campaign to ban books from schools. 2. Conservative activists want to ban 400 books from a library. 3. A fast-growing network of conservative groups is fueling a surge in book bans. 4. Conservatives are banning books from schools while whining about cancel culture. From these headlines, it sounds ominous and dire. One is reminded of the Kurt Vonnegut book Fahrenheit 451. Of course, one also must consider the sources. These headlines came from the New York Times, Huffington Post, ABC News, and The Guardian, all not associated with being supporters of conservative causes. Nevertheless, exploring this book banning controversy certainly seems a worthy exercise. There are 6 aspects of book banning that are important to understand. I will examine those 6 aspects in this article. First, the term book banning is misleading. Certain groups are trying to keep certain books from being used in the classroom and being available to students because those groups believe that the content of those books is not suitable for minors. Without examining any book, is the function of controlling what minors can see, read, watch, hear, and do something that society engages in and should engage in? Of course it is. American society, and most societies across the globe, control what minors can do. People under a certain age cannot drink or purchase alcohol. They cannot purchase firearms. They cannot enter certain establishments, such as bars and nightclubs. They cannot watch restricted movies. They cannot drive a car. They cannot vote. They cannot practice certain professions. They cannot get credit cards. They cannot buy cigarettes. They cannot work. They cannot enlist in the military. They cannot ride certain rides at Disneyland, and they cannot purchase sex toys. We could discuss at what age these restrictions should be set, but it is not logical that protecting minors through government regulation is inconsistent with the basic tenets of freedom and liberty for adults. Second, the term book banning is misleading for another reason. There are some 95,000 school boards or boards of education in the United States. What is the role of the school board or board of education? The website masterclass.com tells us that the role of the school board or board of education is to make decisions about curriculum, school buildings and maintenance, annual budgets, and more by consulting with parents, teachers, and the superintendent. The website goes on to define approving curriculum as the school board is responsible for approving a school's curriculum, as well as deciding the books that the district will use. So, it seems if a board of education is deciding what books the district will use, it will at the same time decide what books will not be used. That in effect is banning those books that the school board does not think should be used. In the United States, most of what goes on in the classroom is controlled either at the state level or at the local, city, or county level. In California, as an example, the state restricts the use of textbooks in grades 1 through 8 to those textbooks that it approves, in effect banning any textbook that it does not approve. The rules and regulations in each state differ, but on an ongoing basis, state and local boards of education are constantly banning the use of books that the board does not approve. Given that this function occurs in all districts, not just conservative ones, it is disingenuous to target conservative groups who want to influence what learning materials children use at school. Third, the number of books that are banned or that boards of education decide to actively prohibit is small. If you search on the internet, you will find various numbers, but PEN.org says that there were 1,557 books made unavailable by school boards in 2022. Given that we have 95,000 school boards, that works out to 1 book not available for school-age kids for each 60 school boards. According to Wikipedia.com, the Library of Congress has some 51 million books, and that does not include all the books published in English. If 1,557 books have been made not available, that is one book for every 32,000 books in the Library of Congress. I may not agree with the people who are limiting access to these books, but I am willing to accept that prohibiting one book in 32,000 will not be an impairment to any child's education. Fourth, who better to decide which books should be available and which ones should not be available than local boards of education? We already accept that regional differences in culture, religion, philosophy, and political opinion give sway to local regulations. The maximum speed limit in California is 75 miles per hour. The maximum speed limit in Texas is 85 miles per hour. Right turns on a red light are prohibited in New York City, but they are legal in Los Angeles. Boards of education have a responsibility to develop curriculum and other policies that reflect the constituents they serve. Boards of education are one of the most democratic of our institutions. Most board members are elected, most boards hold open meetings, and most school boards include in their charters that the rules, policies, and curriculum are developed with a significant voice coming from the parents of the students in the school district. These banned books are being banned because parents who live in those districts are exercising their legislative rights to have a say in their children's education. I would not expect a school curriculum in Athabascan country in Alaska to look the same as a school curriculum in Amish country in Pennsylvania. Fifth, parents have a choice. If the banning of one book out of 32,000 does not fit in with your beliefs, you have alternatives. You can homeschool your children, you can buy the banned books and give them to your children to read. You can send your children to one of the 35,000 private schools in the United States. You could move into a school district more to your liking. One reason many people are moving from California to Florida and Texas. Or you could become actively involved in your local school board meetings and committees. Sixth, media outlets are having a field day reporting on conservatives who are trying to influence content used in the education of their children. Not only has book banning been given widespread coverage, but so have efforts to introduce conservative materials into classrooms by conservative content producers. Almost all coverage has been negative, suggesting conservative materials, as stated by various academics, are appalling, slanted, and incomplete, and flag-waving tripe. Yet at the same time, these media outlets seem to have been mostly silent as progressive indoctrination winds its way into school curriculum. In California, legislation states the instructional material must accurately portray the cultural and racial diversity of American society. This is lofty goals, but who decides what material accurately portray cultural and racial diversity in American society? A government bureaucrat, a teacher, or a parent? And how do you make that evaluation? And what exactly does it even mean? We now have in California school teachers teaching that white people have no culture and any culture they might have was stolen. This from one educator. Teachers will assign work instilling the idea that the pillars of Western civilization were evil and their memories deserve to be thrown in the trash. Or my favorite, a teacher who was planning to have her students make paper teepees during a discussion of Native Americans was made to stop the project when other teachers accused her of cultural appropriation. California's statewide ethnic studies model curriculum also suggests that capitalism is a system of oppression. I think it's fair to say many parents would find these progressive policies and laws objectionable, but the media has for the most part been completely silent. One must ask the question, why would the media get so wound up about parents wanting to have a say in what their children see in school, particularly when they know and have all the information I have outlined in this article? The reason is that conservatives are a threat to the progressive agenda, which is supported by most mainstream media sources. Conservative parents want to be involved in their children's education. Progressives think that is the job of the government and do not want parents involved. Conservatives, while admitting that Western civilization has imperfections, still believe freedom, liberty, equality, and capitalism is a better way. Progressives think Western civilization is nothing more than a system of imperialism, racism, and oppression and want to unwind and destroy it. Conservatives think the individual counts and should have a say. Progressives think collectivism trumps the individual and want the government over the individual. Conservatives often hold strong moral and ethical values, and in many cases based on religious beliefs and faith. Progressives hate religion and think you should not get your moral compass from a god, but from the laws promulgated by government. Just in case you're wondering what is in these books, here are a few excerpts. I put some lube on and got him on his knees and began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life, and then I want you inside of me. I may be old-fashioned, and my children are now grown up, but if you had asked when they were in grade school, if I wanted them reading about men oiling up their cocks and ramming them into other men's assholes and sticking their hard cocks into the mouths of other guys, it wouldn't have taken me more than a second to say no.